say Lumba ibe na yi no ne uncle no wofa say Lumba chro ne will mu say uwa memi enkata neni memi bi ne enkata neni engu ni veil na wajefi lawyers no ho enti na omo practice the will like ne kuma swad enti afide mu krate e chese one throw will cry na mbisa say mudi e won he ina abusia panyin gina so edi ye ma no
de Lumba ka kire ne man ana ne man wo ho
enti sa sem na wan kan che abusia panyin o ka kire ne ma so kata de ne ma na
o se ne man na ne ba Kelvin wo ho. I heard him on the one of our
catching so we are enkata
Sana on abusia panyin na le kanyem.
Ntenye we mu afibio. Enfini we mu.
Recent interview I hear me this year a few days ago no or say na ne man na wo ho e na Lumba kan asem. It means it's not a written document.
Well, Sammy, lawyer no expression is very simple. If you die intestate and you have just one wife, the challenges are limited. But see, Anna, yen to me unclear and properly. Say Lumba was married to just Mrs. Agusa Sewafusu and had children with Odo Bruni and the rest. That is where there's going to be a problem because the Elena na omokako jeno to list the number of properties are na yedene nim say elmudiano okoye the law, the last judgment on that Lumba's demise and the wife ever up. So when I felt disappointed say omonchen na yen appeal ni issue so that we are able to clearly state her status because the current status of Mrs. Agusa Sewafusu is still in contention.
That is if the omoko appeal now.
But they are praying for the appeal.
But for now, what's a stance they say Lumba too?
Thank you. Now, it's a statement, you know. It means the woman is divided into two. Because on the document of Germany, she is the only wife of the late Daddy Lumba. And she's carrying herself as such. Because it was in Germany that she went to the marriage registry and then declared that henceforth she is no more going to use her maiden name, but she will use the husband's name. Until Enena Yakasano on the cat on fact cat from Koya Echirese Awadine Guti ya man ni maiden name. So ni passport ye buka German for the man no e wo mu se fosu empo had no judgment no e ye fosu na woso e na obi fa fosu to ni din so a it means say why a declaration that I am a wife to this person, and in Germany they practice one man one wife, so that contention is here. So say ene japadi e che ba e si e hwene clear that's appeal no, so that you say clearly no the judgment of her leadership Mrs. Zorinda atade no ama odobro ni hu kwan ma no no so adane yere no eye den because the lawyer ne can be say e ba interstate poa de ye wale ne kan because yan ware o nyina the same time baku ye 2019
but
yes where Odobro say were in 2010 we were and Lumba yeri peninsu according to Papa Shiro the 91 was 81 we were 81 it is a share property that been acquired by documentation from 1981 up to 2010 up to 2010 but then Lumba here because anything will be shareable. They will consider what you came to meet as a second wife per the judgment.
Okay.
Will it serve any purpose? But not to them can say this story is going to be something else. But I wish that Akusha Sewafusu Mrs. will pursue because her split personality is worrying me. That our Germany, she's addressed as the wife of the late Daddy Lumba. Once she gets a visa to cross to Ghana, a judgment is waiting for her to say, Onye yiri, ena, onye under ordinance. Okay. It is say you pursue I want the appeal. Then this thing will happen because Lumba wants your will. There was a lot of conversation. Am I say a bimusi mo hunu will watch no. But not to can say. You say time no so. Because nyama say can do so.
I know said this is a issue. Yeah, we have a lot to say.
Counsellor Ewie no abegyafo no baako enso so ekire na adwene eto ho kyene e de yewura mu e ba bai mu e me ye te ase.
Charles Kojofosu one throw well. And there are people who are claiming such as Kojofosu throw well. Now say if a lawyer tells you say Charles Kojofosu throw well, now lawyer knows very well say this law to be able to be recognized by law, no, I should deposit it with the High Court. Now, it tells you, say, it is not true. So what I say. Now, Sister Lumba is under PNDC law 111, Interstate Succession Law, Section 5, Subsection 1A, or says, Ubiwu Nase one Trowella. You see, there's a difference between death wish, Ubi Owu. Na kuma swade and na will nya mesu su se mini wa yenye nie eno re different nti sia wa anye eno na the wish no wish here nti say you no de wish nti fine nti section 5 1 section subsection 1A or say the japade no ye bechem ama na yere be 18.75%. Ne ma ebenya 56%. Nenu waka said ne baba ko ne manyina instead that the Lumba e wo 10 a e be cha 10 nyina mom equally
ibi beba
good yo na fi ne busua ono so ne busua so e be chema mom 12.5%. 12% almost benya nti nipa 4 eyere emma ebusua any can I say customary law, which is ebusuafo no. These are the 4 categories. I say eche mom. No a property that the Lumba acquired alone. It is no be joint property. It doesn't come here. Yes. No, it doesn't come in. Because semene aye japade we business partner ne mawua mean to me nka se me ni honti wo ne be che me japade na memema debi nti no that has to be split asana ne ono nko ache wa kwai by law no eno na fi ye be chem with this kind of formula. I'm telling you
kobo e see kom producer e wo see kom pa
including his music properties.
Wanye samasie bi enti o mefa mra kwan so ene de ache ejapade no e ma refi se oya no ekaka ho se ejapade a odobroni ba na ya mama yakoso ya sewa ene Lumba aye no eno de onka ho bi eje de oba ya one Lumba eyeye ebuza enti yakoye no de nya ye ene chewa de no wi a shevi due amawia bi nsa entuminka mede e de eje aha eye eje gossips background
ochoto Kojo de na oye bibia oye ne will. Enti oye will no man lawyers.
Mu krati eche se one throw will cry. Na mi say mu de won he. Na abusia pen gina so edi ye man.
In sharing them, they also looked at those that he acquired with the first wife before the second wife came in. So those ones, the second wife will not share in them because they were there before she came in.
Ubusa ne mana ne manyina baba bigina ha dia dance 100%. So on papa wish and o pay yaman ya man.
You see there's a difference between death wish obi owu na kuma so ade and na will nya mesu su say mini wa yenye nie eno re different. Nti see wa anye eno na the wish no wish here. Nti say you no de wish. This story is going to be something else, but I wish that Akusha Sewa for Mrs. will pursue because her split personality is worrying me. It is no be joint property. It doesn't come here. Yes. No, it doesn't come in because se me no aye japade we business partner na mawu a me to me nka se me ni honti wo ne be che me japade na ma mema dabi nti no that has to be split
kojo dia na oye bibia oye ne will nti oye will no e man lawyers nti lawyers na kan ne man so amehia wo no omo kan ni nuaba ezo e kan se sa na oye ene se ebusun payin nte me pese wa sha dia na pese oye ade na meguso de oye no eno ana beye nti sa me no ko se sia na obi a twe no na me bie na ni mo se ono abedo so ompe
me kan kire wo se wo ye will what you say ne niama wa ba ye na acha bia wo se ye nyema no ubusa ne mana ne manyina baba be gina ha dia dance 100% se on papa wish ena wo se ye nyema ya ya
adwuma ni nyina adwuma bedimu mo a mo hyehyɛ se adwuma no nyankopɔn awe to bedimu nyina mo so abusua mameka asɛm nkyerɛ ma hu sɛ nkɔfo freme mu kasa na Sister Freda na Daddy Lumba yɛse wanyɛ wo mepa kyɛw sansɛm na amate wa abɔnten nyina no endra me ye video de to wo sɛ letter no eyi stamp boso obeti wa na ne stamp boso se letter ne ye no korekora na mpacho dia media to mechi munzu mi na monhwe mun read why we Daddy Lumba wu ye no ne lawyers letter a o mo ye me pacho mun read baby am de circle abono mun read why na mpacho wi a ko kan ya de bia ye friend trust and the will, which one is more powerful? Trust is powerful than will. Trust and so yeah and found to court. Why? Me pese me chere nsem bebre mu. Ancha. Mo bete nsem free lawyers no. Why? I say Daddy Lumba anya will yate. Yaje atu. Why? There's something very powerful than will. I trust. Why? You will never be brave. Why? Na word there. Daddy Lumba. Oh no. Share. Very wise man. Timpacho, monko why? Said the Lumba we and the lawyers in a bit now so ne death. Ne idea natural said there's something more powerful. Ebusia for no claim to me and kuntia. Trust is more powerful. Why? Go to Google and search it. Trust is more powerful. Trust is more powerful than the world. What's real? But your letter never won't. It is a request. Why? A request or more request here. Say a fake request, you say a dear you.
Man, so. Lawyer Patriotism and car me more about power entertainment. So,
good evening.
Good evening, lawyer. Please, Michelle Chino Utimika.
Not too fluent. I'll prefer to speak English if that's allowed.
Okay, so maybe you should try and mix it for us because this is pure Akan radio. If you can really try and mix it with Chi, it will really help our listeners. Please, lawyer, I would like to find out, since the demise of Daddy Lumba, have you been following the legal issues and all what has happened before the news that we are about to discuss about his will? Have you been following it?
Yes, it is a legal matter and it is of interest to all lawyers and it's of interest to all married people. So I followed it. I will not say keenly, but I'm very much aware of what is happening.
So far, what are some of the legal things as a lawyer you've picked out from this whole Daddy Lumba issue?
I think the most significant one is the fact that he is married in a polygamous way. That is, he has more than one wife. And secondly, he did not write a will before he died. So there are legal issues surrounding his property that would be shared or how it should be shared. as well as the fact that he being polygamous, what are the legal implications? These are some of the things that, in terms of the law, one will be asking and one wants to understand.
Okay, so as it stands now, the court has declared that Lumba had 2 wives. And if we are to talk about the sharing of his estate, is that going to be in contention?
Once both wives have been confirmed to be legitimate or legal, it simply means that the law will protect both of them. So when it comes to the sharing of his property, the law is there to guide as to how it will be shared.
Can you take us through the procedure? How is his property going to be shared according to the law?
Thank you for that. In Ghana, if we want to go back to history, it was such that a lot of people were disadvantaged, especially when it came to women and their husbands, in terms of when the husband dies and then what is left of the husband's property. Mostly the family will take over and the wife will be left with nothing. So as a result of that, the government saw the need to protect women. So in 1985, the government came out with a law, we call it PMDC Law 111, in 1985. And that law is to take charge of or is to guide how property of persons who die without a will be shared. Remember, if you die without a will, we say that you died intestate. So that law is called Intestate Succession Law, PMDC Law 111. It is to provide a uniform and equitable way of sharing the property of people who die without a will. In fact, it's about inheritance. So what happens is that if you die as a man or as a woman without without a will, then your property is shared first, taking into consideration your immediate family. The immediate family here comprising your wife or your husband, we call that couple, and then your children. So these people will first be in charge, or they will take your chattels, your house, and then whatever that is left, then it is shared in another ratio or in a formula. Now, if you die, in that case, where you have 2 wives, it becomes a bit complex, but it's still the same principle. He has wives. So the houses that those wives are staying in, if they belong to that Lumba, the court, if they go to court, will likely say that they should maintain those houses, and then whatever that is left will now be shared according to PMDC Law 111. And he says that if there's a surviving couple, then the couple and children will take up to 55% of the remainder of the person's property. Remember, I said that if you die without a will, first, your house or the house that you were living in with your children and your wife, those ones will be kept by the wife and the children. So whatever that is left, the excess will now be shared using a particular formula. And that formula is that the first 55% will go to them again, will go to the wife and the children again, or the husband and the children again. And then 20% of that will be given to the other family members, and then the rest will also be given to the larger family. So it's a clear formula for sharing property, whether you leave a will or not. If you leave a will, yes, that means that you have told the whole world that if you die, this is how your property should be shared. In that case, nobody has power to vary your last wishes unless they are not in consonance with the law. But when you don't have a will, then PMDC Law 111 will now fall in place to ensure the equitable distribution of your wealth. Remember that the emphasis is on your immediate family, not to make them worse off. The must not be disadvantaged.
Okay. So it's whose duty to gather all the properties of the deceased? Who is supposed to assemble all his properties and to know, okay, that Lumba left 5 houses, 3 cars. It's on whose responsibility is that?
Right. So when you die, your property cannot be touched. Otherwise, you fall into, or the person who touched it will be cited for what we call intermeddling. Intermeddling is a crime in our laws. So what you do first is to go and take letters of administration. In this case, that Lumba did not leave any will, so they will just go for letter of administration. And the people who must take the letter of administration is also stated by the law. First, your family, your immediate family again, your wife, your children. If they are not able or they are not there, then it comes to your parents or your larger family. If that is not there, then it falls now to your personal representative. These are the kind of people that can go for letters of administration. Now, if you go for the letters of administration, if you apply to the court to take letters of administration, the court will require that you list all the assets that the person had at the point of death.
Okay.
So here, that Lumba's family or his wife, if they can come together and do it, they will do it, and his children. If the wife cannot even do, his children, they are not fighting each other, but they're the same family, so they can come together and go and take the letters of administration.
Okay. Okay. Now, Daddy Lumba is a musician. We all know. He has a lot of intellectual properties. How is that going to also be shared among the family? Who is going to take or who is responsible to take care of the intellectual property and then make sure that maybe his legacy will live on with us? Who is supposed to do that?
So intellectual property, like you mentioned, is also property of the deceased person. So if the family is aware of them, it's all part of the property that they will list as his self-acquired property. But if they are not aware of it, it becomes a bit challenging, because in that case, you cannot do much. If that Lumba, for example, has another house somewhere that nobody is aware of, you can't do anything about it. Whatever they will list to the court in taking the letters of administration will not include that house. So it's the same thing. It's intellectual property and all of that. If the family or the children or whoever that is going for the letter of administration is not aware, they cannot include it. But when they are aware, they have to include all of them to say that this is what the man was worth when he was alive. And at the point of death, these are the properties he had, including the intellectual property and how they should be shared. Remember, the intellectual property is also just like a company shares. The death of the person does not mean that they will die. They will continue to generate income. So they are all part of the person's property.
Okay, my last, before I let you go, we've heard that Lumba had a lot of children with other women. Is the law going to capture those children and then maybe the mothers of these children?
And we don't have illegal child. As long as you are a child, you are a legal child, whether out of wedlock or within wedlock. So they are all part of that Lumba's children. Even if that Lumba had written a will and excluded them, they would have still applied to the court to be included, and the court would accept that, will accept that. So they are his children, they are entitled to inherit him. They are entitled to maintenance from him or from his property or his estate. So they are all part.
What again are we supposed to know before you take a leave of us about the law, about this whole issue? If you have anything to share with us or any advice, you can give it to us.
Okay, so the law, as it stands, is that if the person dies, the children, the wife, the children, or whoever that is going for the letter of administration, will not inherit the property. What I want you to know is that for those other women that he had the children with out of wedlock, they may not share in his property, in that they are not married to him, but their children will share in his property. And if I want to advise, I would advise that if you acquire property and you know the point in your life, you need to write a will. That will help you. Otherwise, you will go and create more chaos as your legacy. And remember, there's something I needed to talk about that I didn't talk about. In terms of the property that Lumba has, in sharing them, they also looked at those that he acquired with the first wife before the second wife came in. So those ones, the second wife will not share in them because they were there before she came in.
Okay, very critical point.
So basically, if your listeners listening well, I would advise that they take their wills seriously. Otherwise, they will create more chaos as their legacy than they intend.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Rashid Fuseni. God bless you.